Who is this actually good for, who should skip it, and is it worth the price for normal everyday buyers? If you're the type of creator who lives off a laptop that can both render a 4K video and keep a CAD model running smooth as silk, you might be leaning toward a mobile workstation. If you just need something for email, streaming, and the occasional spreadsheet, you might be overthinking it. And if you're wondering whether you'll get a solid return on the money you spend, that's the question we'll unpack right now. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The ASUS ProArt StudioBook Pro 17 sits at the intersection of a designer's dream machine and a gamer's high-refresh rig. It's not a cheap notebook you can toss into a coffee shop and forget about. It's a purpose-built piece of hardware that assumes you'll be doing heavy lifting day in and day out. That means the first thing you have to ask yourself is whether your workflow actually demands the kind of GPU power that a Quadro RTX 3000 Max-Q delivers. If you spend your days in Photoshop, Premiere Pro, or 3D rendering applications that tap into CUDA cores, the RTX 3000 is a genuine productivity booster. If you're mostly browsing the web or using Microsoft Office, you'll be paying for horsepower you'll never use. Let's start with the screen because that's where the StudioBook tries to set itself apart. The 17-inch WUXGA NanoEdge display gives you a resolution of 1920x1200 with a matte coating that reduces glare. For a photographer or video editor, the extra vertical space compared to a 1080p panel means you can see more timeline tracks without scrolling. In practice, I found the color reproduction solid enough for rough color grading, but if you need the absolute highest fidelity for print-ready work, you'll still want an external calibrated monitor. The real trade-off here is size versus portability. The 17-inch chassis adds a noticeable weight, making it a bit of a stretch for daily commutes on crowded trains. Under the hood, the Intel Core i7-9750H is a 6-core, 12-thread chip that can turbo up to 4.5 GHz, paired with 16 GB of DDR4 RAM. It handles multitasking like a champ. I tested it with Adobe After Effects, opening a 12-track composition while simultaneously running a 3D viewport in Blender. The laptop didn't miss a beat, and the SSD's 1TB PCIe NVMe capacity meant loading times were measured in seconds, not minutes. The practical strength of that storage is the sheer amount of space you get for large video files, raw footage, and project caches without having to lug an external drive around. The downside is that the RAM is soldered. You can't upgrade beyond 16 GB later, so if your projects are expected to grow dramatically, you're locked into that limit. Connectivity is where the StudioBook tries to be a workhorse. You get an HDMI port, 3 USB 3.0 Type-A slots, a USB-C Thunderbolt 3, and an SD card reader. In a real-world studio, that means you can plug a 4K monitor straight into HDMI, attach a fast external SSD via Thunderbolt for backup, and slot in a camera's SD card without a dongle. The Thunderbolt 3 port is a hidden gem because it lets you daisy-chain a second 4K display or connect a high-speed external GPU if you ever feel the internal Quadro is not enough for a specific project. The only practical weakness I noticed is the lack of an Ethernet jack, which forces you to rely on Wi-Fi or a USB-C to Ethernet adapter for the most stable network connection when uploading massive render files. Now, what about the day-to-day experience? The keyboard has the typical ASUS travel distance, and the keys are backlit, which is nice for low-light editing sessions. The trackpad is responsive enough for quick navigation, but I still prefer an external mouse for precision work. Battery life is a realistic 4 to 5 hours when you're pushing the GPU and CPU hard, which aligns with most mobile workstations don't expect to make it through a full workday unplugged. That's a trade-off you have to accept if you need that level of performance. The alternative is a lighter Ultrabook with far less grunt. So who should buy this? If you're a freelance motion graphics artist, an architect using Revit or SketchUp, or a small studio that needs a single machine capable of handling 4K editing, color grading, and 3D rendering on the go, the StudioBook Pro 17 checks most of those boxes. It also works well for developers who compile large codebases or run virtual machines, because the extra cores and RAM keep those processes from bottlenecking. For gamers, the RTX 3000 can run many titles at respectable settings, but you won't get the same frame rates as a dedicated gaming laptop with a full-power RTX 3080. If you're primarily a gamer looking for high refresh rates, you might be better off with a machine marketed specifically for that purpose. Who should skip it? If you're a student or a casual user whose main tasks revolve around web browsing, streaming, and standard office software, you'll likely find a more affordable 15-inch laptop that offers longer battery